Hi, everybody. This is Lois with End Fibromyalgia with Natural Options and the private group. What is it? End Fibro? Drawing a blank. Anyway, and I am here with Michelle Kaufman, Debbie Poole, and Kristen Pavero. And I asked these ladies to have this Zoom call because I think the three of them have been with me from the very beginning, if I'm not wrong, right? All three of you, and you guys have all had pretty good success. And we all do some things a little bit differently that we found works for us individually. So I just kind of wanted to let these ladies share their experiences and where they started and how they're doing now. And I know for two of you, it's a profound difference, especially. So I think my story is kind of, we have videos on it, so I don't really think I need to waste a bunch of time on mine, but I can pipe in here and there. So who'd like to go first and just kind of introduce yourself and maybe where you came from, when you found us and how you were doing and how you're doing today with following the protocol?
I'll go first.
Okay.
All right, I'm Kristen Pavero. I live in Willis, Texas, just north of Houston. And I found Dr. Purser actually at a Young Living convention when Progestins Plus was released. And I started following him after that. And my body just progressively got worse and worse and worse. I had been a peripheral blood stem cell transplant donor for my sister. And after that procedure, well, first the procedure is they give you 3 shots a day for 5 days to help your body overproduce stem cells and push them out to the peripheral bloodstream. And then for 2 days, they siphon those blood cells off. Well, my body did not react well to that procedure. And I do think that I had some issues that I was managing previous to that because I was very careful about my supplementation and my amount of exercise, what kind of exercise I did, my stress level. So I've always kind of managed that kind of stuff. But after that procedure, my body just progressively got worse and worse and worse to the point that I was basically bedridden. On any given day, I would have to almost roll myself out of bed, shuffle to the couch because my feet and my hands were so swollen. I could not function. I got to the point that I could not cook without my husband at home because I would forget that I'd started something on the stove. I could get laundry into the washer, but I couldn't get it out. So he would have to do that when he got home. He did all the shopping. I was pretty much being taken care of. And then I saw a post that Dr. Purser posted that if you have fibromyalgia, to stop eating 7 things. And they were all the things except for shellfish that I was massively eating because for everyone else, it's healthy foods: kale, spinach, nuts and seeds, mushrooms, dark chocolate, avocados, and shellfish, which my smoothie every day was sesame seed, chia seed, and flax ground. Then add a full avocado, a handful of spinach, a handful of kale, an avocado, and an orange. And I was drinking that every day, not realizing that I actually was poisoning myself. And so that's probably partly why I was progressively getting worse and worse. So I did stop those things. And I started to notice that I started feeling a little better. Not great. On a scale of 1 to 10, pain level, I would say that my pain level was like 25 when I started. Dr. Purser did another post at one point that was, if you have fibromyalgia, message me your story. And so I did basically what I just said, and he called me 15 minutes later. And I got to be part of the trial with the copper balance and the VARS glutathione. And almost immediately, I started to be able to do things. I had completely stopped driving. And I really didn't go anywhere or do anything because I just could not function. And I really even avoided phone calls. I was not working my business. And after I started working with Dr. Purser, and going on the lower copper diet, I was very impressed with how quickly I started feeling better. Now, I didn't go from pain level 25 down to 1. That has been a very progressive thing. But almost immediately, I did notice that I could get in and out of the tub for a soak myself, where previously I would have to wait till my husband got home from work so that he could help me get in and out of the tub for a soak. Those kind of things. It, I had severe depression with it too, where I just, because I couldn't function, and I'm a type A, get it done kind of person, I was just so severely depressed that I couldn't fix myself. Um, when I first started, I did start in June, I believe, with Dr. Purser, and I think that's when the Fibro group started. And so Lois was tremendous with just encouraging me and supporting me, because when you go down to low copper, that is a very frustrating diet when you have been a health coach who has been eating all the quote unquote healthy things. And so at one point, I realized that I needed to go to 0 copper in my food. And for 6 months, I went to 0 copper. And my whole family is Italian. We eat a lot of garlic and a lot of Italian food, and I could not eat any of it. So my diet basically went to celery, zucchini, apple, egg, chicken. I think that's about it. I mean, it was very, very limited, but I really felt like I just needed to get a handle on this copper issue to be able to gauge what I was doing. And I'm a journaler, so I would journal the weather, my stress level, everything that I ate, what my mood was, so that I could make a correlation of what foods are triggers for me and what foods aren't. And so some foods that are now after 5 years, I can kind of almost taste everything, which I really like, because I have always loved guacamole and Brussels sprouts, but they are not, they are on the no list. But I can have a taste of those now. And I do know that some things that trigger me are not triggers for other people. Like if I have too much chicken in a week, I can feel it in my shoulders. So I know I need to limit how much chicken I'm eating. And one of the things that I did learn from Lois early on that I wasn't even paying attention to was serving size, because I was eating a lot of eggs in the beginning, and eating a lot of, if you're just eating too much, not the serving size, you're going to have a trigger reaction. So I just, I'm very thankful for this group, because everyone really pours into each other. And I'm working now. I can play with my grandkids. I drive. I do everything now. The only thing I don't do is I don't run. I'm just not a runner, but I do like to walk, and I do like to do gentle exercises. I'm not a real hard work. I used to work out real hard, but I don't work out real hard anymore because my body just does not like that. But I have found that the moon still does have some effect with me, and I have to pay attention to when the full moon is coming. And I do have to take a look at my calendar and slow down, how much activity I'm going to have, and really be mindful of some self-care. I do make sure that I have a really good soak at least once a week. I like to try twice a week with baking soda, because that neutralizes the water, Epsom salts, and whatever essential oils I'm feeling like I need to put in my Epsom salts. So I do make sure that I do those things. And previously, I noticed that I always was like a 5 to 6 hour erratic sleeper, and I sleep now. I didn't realize how much I wasn't sleeping. So now I am a 7 to 9 hour sleeper, and that has been a huge shift over my whole previous life. Even when I was a kid, I was not a sleeper. So I really am enjoying the changes that have happened. And I really believe that I have had the MTHFR gene And it showed up even when I was a kid. I know that when I was 13, I was diagnosed with nervous stomach, and that was, in the 70s, which we didn't know anything then. So, so I guess what I want to finish my little segment with is don't quit. It's not easy, but it is simple. So you just make it as simple as you possibly can and stick to it and stay connected with our group. And each of us can encourage you. You can always tag me if you feel like I have a something to share with you, or you have a question. I'm always glad to help, because this group has been foundationally helpful for me. And Michelle and Debbie and Lois have the four of us really have encouraged each other along the way, but we really feel like paying it forward is necessary, just because you can feel better, you can function, you can have a life again. And I've gone from, most of my days pain level is between 1 and 3 maximum. Now, that's not to say that I don't get a flare. I did experience a flare yesterday. I ate something I knew was a no-no, and I thought, I'll just have a bite. It was Texas chocolate sheet cake, which is a lot of chocolate in it. And I only had a little mini muffin size, but I almost immediately felt it in my shoulders. And so I took some extra copper balance. And this morning I am much better. My shoulders are still just a little sore, but much, much better. So we have great tools to be able to help us to recover when we do have a trigger as well.
Thank you, Kristen. That you're getting me all welled up, because that was the whole point of this. And I will say, I think you especially have been the most restricted in how you've had to eat, and the fact that you stuck with it. I honestly don't know if I would have done it if I had to do what you had to do. So, I mean, you've been a trooper, and I've watched your arc, and it's just important to watch.
Well, I'll tell you, when you feel the difference of the pain level and then not having the pain, you just don't even want to eat that. I mean, it did come down to that, where when I was in that very restricted time of, I remember it was from August to January, I completely went to 0 copper, and I researched every single thing I ate to make sure it had 0 copper. And
which there isn't a lot that has 0 copper.
There isn't, especially in the winter. And so, even though we're in Texas, so we do get some fresh vegetables here in the winter, but I am definitely that personality type that if I know that is going to cause me pain, I will not do it. And so I will say that my exercise level went down to nothing for a long, long time, because it would trigger pain. But now I can do, Pilates and yoga and breathing exercises, which are very stress relieving. And that's also very helpful, because keeping your stress level low is a real foundational thing for us, and that have fibromyalgia.
Definitely. Also, at the I'm just gonna do a little clarifier here at the beginning for those people who are new. We do not claim a cure, but a way to manage our symptoms. So, I mean, we believe that most of us have it rooted in our genetics, and so far we can't change our genetics. I don't know if that'll change in the future, but
well, I don't know. I feel like my body is continuously progressively healing with other things that I'm doing. And so I am believing that at some point my body will be healed. Now, I don't know if that means it's when I die and I go to, meet the Lord. But at some point I will be healed.
I do think that we can, I mean, I don't know, like you said, I do feel the moon. I mean, my pain level is usually a 0 to 2. When I feel the pain, like my hips will usually alert me that, the moon's coming, but it's totally tolerable. So I still have those little bit of things that haven't gone quite away, but I'm with you. I still am continuing to see improvement. Okay, who wants to go next? Thank you, Kristen.
I can go.
Okay.
So
She's our rock star.
yeah, my story is similar and yet different than Kristen's. So my name is Debbie Poole. I live in St. Michael, Minnesota. And I'll just paint a picture of what my life looked like before I ran across this information. Was I had pain and inflammation so bad that I ended up herniated a disc in my neck by the age of 40. So I had surgery and I was doing everything I could to do like anti-inflammatory diet. I had muscle spasms so bad in my low back that I didn't even know they were spasms until I started getting better. It was just like a constant pain. And then when I started getting a little bit better, I could feel the spasming. I was to the point where it was so bad in my back, I couldn't walk upstairs unless if I was holding on to a railing. And I also was having issues with migraines. And similarly, I was following Dr. Purser's page because I use Young Living and came across this video that said, and fibromyalgia with natural causes. And I was like, oh, I know people with fibro. I better watch that so I can help them. And I had never actually been diagnosed with fibro. The doctors I seen were just interested in medications or surgery, and neither one of those were was what I was interested in. So I just kept searching for answers. And then when I watched that video, it was the fall of 2019. My mind was so blown because I knew this immediately. I knew this was the answer I was looking for. And part of the reason I knew that was I had done nutrition response testing for over 5 years with more than one chiropractor. And over 75% of the high copper foods at one point or another, I would test where I shouldn't eat them. And then I wouldn't eat them for a couple months. And then guess what? I, then I could eat them again, but then it would test again that, and then now I can't eat them. And I just thought that made so much sense that it had to be after I ate them for a few months, then that would accumulate the copper again. So I was eager to try. I didn't do it like right that day, but I was like, I'm gonna have to try this. So within like maybe like a week, I went like full bore, low copper. And I noticed a difference within like 2 to 3 days. Like it wasn't like pain free, but I could tell the difference. And I was like, oh, I better keep doing this. And so after about 2 to 3 months, I noticed quite a bit of a difference. And like for an example, from like October of 2019 to the following March, I only had like 3 or 4 muscle spasms, where before I was getting them every single day. And then I kept doing it, kept doing it. And then the following year, I didn't have any. And so I want to highly encourage everybody to try this. I like to say, like, choose your hard. Like, it's hard to do it, but it's also hard to be in this position. I
Mhm.
was also like very overweight. And so then after I had been doing it, so I started October of 2019. By that following March was, everyone knows kind of what March of 2020 was. So when they shut the gyms down, I had a trainer at my gym text me to let me know that he was going to be doing Zoom workouts. I had seen him very rare and I knew I liked him, but with my work schedule, I wasn't able to get there that often. And little did I know that my life was about to be severely changed. Now fast forward, I've been doing this training with him the whole time. So my birthday is March 24th, and that will actually start my 5th year of training with him. And my mind is so blown because with our stuff, I can have an issue come up and he can so work around that. It's unbelievable. But yet I can do like amazing things. Like I don't have to do gentle workouts this morning. Like I was deadlifting like over 200 pounds. And so it gets to be quite a trip when you're like feeling the best at your oldest. I'm also a grandma now, so that's super fun to like be in the best health and shape of my life with being a grandma. And like I've been working on balance too, like on a black side of the Bosu, I can like he can hand me a barbell or like a 40-pound kettlebell and I can do it. He actually can't demonstrate everything on there that I can do now. He demonstrates it on the floor and says, well, you'll be on the Bosu. So that's pretty funny, but Because I just wanted to say that that is possible, but I know a lot of people with fibro do gentle. What changed my thought with that was over the course of time, because sometimes I work weekends. I noticed when I worked the weekend and I wasn't able to go to the gym, I would end up with like stiffness or pain, and I would go to the workout and it would disappear. And so what I think that is the copper is getting stuck in your trigger points if you don't have enough movement. And also, I feel like if the muscles are sore a little bit, I feel like that helps the copper not get stuck there too. I'm not sure. I don't have any like validation on why that is, but it seems to be a thing. And then my other tips would be, yeah, so my tips besides doing the low copper diet, I would say is the movement, whatever movement that is for you, and then keep your stress as low as possible. I had no
Mhm.
idea. I was actually getting hives from stress at work and I didn't realize it was hives. I thought I was allergic to work or something there because do have sensitivities to chemicals and I'm a lab technician. So when you're working in that environment, I thought maybe something was causing it. And I didn't realize till I started training with him, it was actually hives from stress. So that's, some magic happens too. If you keep your cortisol down low enough, then I had no idea that throwing heavy weights around is what would reduce my stress the most. I thought it would be like a normal person, like yoga or take Epsom salt bath.
Yeah. And all three of these ladies have their have video interviews in the announcement section. So you can go back and you can see Debbie's before and after too, and see how impressive and how hard she's worked to get to where she is today. So I love that. I love that story. Michelle, how about you?
Yes, it's my turn. Um, so I had known about Dr. Purser. I went to a Young Living event in 2015 in Nashville where he spoke about Progestins Plus, and I was really impressed with his knowledge and everything he shared. So I started following him then for that information because I also have always struggled with hormonal issues and problems. Um, and so, but I was actually doing pretty well, so I didn't follow closely the fibromyalgia information, even though both my parents were diagnosed when I was like in middle school. Um, and I had been diagnosed, but it was at that time under control. But then in 2019, um, I was on a long flight with some very sick people sitting next to me, and I got very sick with some kind of crazy mutant virus, and that took over a month to get rid of. And then all my fibromyalgia symptoms that had been controlled really well and were like, like a 2, went up to like a 10 or 11, and just wouldn't go. I kept thinking like, oh, I just need to get rid of this virus or whatever, but it just wouldn't. And I was having such intense back pain. I've always been a very active person. I've always worked out at the gym and exercised and been outdoorsy and active. And I have a very physical job. I'm a massage therapist and aromatherapist. And I was getting to the point where I was having to miss work. Um, Quite often I wasn't able to go out and do the normal things that I would do. I was just having most of my pain was focused in my spine, in my lower back, particularly, and hips. Sometimes it would go down to my legs. But it just wouldn't let up. And it was just drastically interfering with my life and being able to do the things I wanted to do. And it was really a big problem to be missing work. And so around that time, it was so like I'm not sure if it was I think it was around the holidays. Dr. Purser ran a special on his genetic and micronutrient testing. He did like a package deal where you could buy the testing and you got a one-on-one consultation with him to go over all the testing and for him to, tell you what all that meant. And I was desperate. I couldn't really afford it, but I was so desperate that I just was like, all right, this is like a glimmer of hope and maybe this would help. Who knows? Like I've tried everything else. I know a lot about health and wellness. I've been in the business for 30 years and nothing I tried was working. So I took a leap of faith and spent the money and got the testing and got my session with Dr. Purser to go over it. And he was like, yeah, your genetics are not the worst I've ever seen, but There's a lot of issues here and a lot of deficiencies here. But we can help you with that and we can work on that. And so he told me to start with the low copper diet. And so I started with that, and then we gradually added in the glutathione and the copper balance and the other supplements and things. But I at first did not feel better and was really starting to get worried that this wasn't going to work for me. My pain level was not going down right away, even though I was being really, really strict with like 0 copper. And after a month or longer, this group has helped so much. Someone in the group said something about mushrooms, and like a light went off in my head, and I was taking a Young Living supplement every single day that the primary ingredients are mushrooms because it's good for your immune system. And I never thought about, I knew I wasn't eating any mushrooms, but I hadn't thought about, oh, I'm taking concentrated like mushroom powder in a capsule every single day. So when I stopped taking that, that was like, I think the last thing that was like a major copper, because, you know, I'd been eating all the healthy high copper foods before, like avocados every day. That I'd given all that up. But once I got off of that supplement, and so I think that's when I finally was down to like taking in no copper. That's when I started feeling better and better and better, and the pain just gradually went down, 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 down. And I started to have, you know, some more energy and was able to move and start, you know, exercising again. And Dr. Purser also helped me identify some other, you know, health issues that every other doctor my whole life had missed. So like, you know, I have underactive thyroid. Nobody had, nobody had ever caught that before. And so just helped me get everything kind of back to balance and back to, you know, a normal functioning level. And I know it's, for a lot of people, it's difficult doing a highly restrictive diet. But for me, I was so desperate to feel better. I didn't care. It was so worth it that I didn't eat very many foods for a while. It was a really short list. And like Kristen said, and I'm sure many others, you know, I had to start kind of tracking, okay, what foods are causing me to have more pain and what are not. And so I still can't eat like shellfish or mushrooms or things like that. But I learned over time what was the worst triggers for me. So I still eat very low copper. I still eat also very low carb, almost no sugar, because I've also learned that's a huge trigger for flares, for inflammation and things for me. Is if I have a lot of carbs and a lot of sugar, I feel terrible, just like I would do if I have a lot of copper. But I've stuck with it since I started, I think it was around Christmas of 2019, and I've stuck with it since. And I have been able to work full time, be very active, go to the gym. I usually 4 to 5 days a week working out. I'm very active, you know, on the weekends we go out and hike or paddleboard or whatever. I've been able to do pretty much what I want to do. As long as I just, you know, I still take the supplements from Dr. Purser and some other ones from another functional medicine doctor I see, and I still mostly eat very low copper and very low carb. And that's given me my life back. I normally, on most days, my pain level is like a 1 or a 2, unless I splurge and eat something that I know is going to cause me pain, which I don't do very often because it's just not worth it for me. So yeah, I went from when I first came to Dr. Purser having like a 10 pain level most days, and now I'm like a 1 or a 2 most days. So it's given me my life back, and I'm super grateful that Dr. Purser's figured all this out and shared all of this information with us, because it's a much better life now. So
It is. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for you ladies because you guys have been here from the beginning. And I know most people know this, but it was literally when I started seeing him as my physician, because everybody knows that his wife has been my best friend for 30 years. Once I started seeing him as my physician, we weren't doing this at all in the beginning. We were doing other things that did help minimally, things that needed to be obviously addressed. But it wasn't until he kind of got this bug about the copper and we really dug in that it changed my life. And I was able to complete a yoga teacher training 200 hours. And I was like, if you would have told me 10 years ago, because that's been 5 or 6 years ago now, that I could have sat on a hardwood floor for 8 hours and taken 8 yoga classes. I would have said, there's no way, you're crazy. I can hardly get out of bed in the morning. So it really changed my life. And that was when we were like, how can we share this with people and pay it forward? And hence the Facebook group. So here we are. Is there anything else, you guys? I really just want this to be, helpful to new people. And if you have anything else that you think, maybe that you've learned that you'd like to share. And I love that we all have, it's similar but different, and the things that affect us are different, and how we can manage things are different. And that was another thing I really wanted to kind of highlight for people is it is a basic protocol, but you have to make it your own.
Mhm.
It takes effort and because we all react differently to different things. So
I would
What do you-
just add, like, how like Michelle was saying, she didn't realize she was having mushrooms, is if somebody tries it and they feel like they're not getting results, maybe do a post about that and share, like, this is what I'm doing, am I missing something?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah, look at your supplements, even like drinks, weird things you wouldn't think of could have high copper ingredients. The other thing I wanted to mention that I meant to say, but I forgot, was in addition to the low copper protocol and everything from Dr. Purser, another thing I added in a couple of years ago that's really helped is doing specific techniques for nervous system regulation, because I think stress also causes me to have flares, even if I'm not eating copper. If I have tremendous stress, sometimes that will start to flare things up. So I've made it a priority for the last couple of years to do, and you can look that up online. There's like hundreds of things you can do for that, but that has also helped as well.
100%. I stress management is huge, I think. And for me, yoga nidra became my kind of go-to practice that just really helped me so much. So I agree. You have to find out what that is. And that's different for everybody too, like breathing techniques, meditation, prayer, whatever, exercise, whatever it is that helps you. Kristen, did you have anything to add?
Not really, just I think it's very important to make sure that you give your body the time it needs to be able to adjust to the diet, because nutritional healing sometimes takes 60, 90, 180 days before you start seeing a difference.
Yeah.
And so to give it that time, and I think that the journaling is really important, and get your family on board. And if they're not, that's what this group is for. We're here to be on board with you. And I really want to encourage people that you can feel better. You just find what works for you. And I guess I really have gone to a whole food diet. So with very low grains, mostly the only grain that I really eat often is an einkorn grain, because that doesn't tend to bother me much, but that's me. Or I can do an Italian pasta, if it's made in Italy, because they do it a little bit different than they do here. So I can have, and I'll tell you, being an Italian family, that's really rough not having pasta.
Yeah.
But and breads. But really real whole foods, I really don't shop in the center aisles at all. Everything is just the external fresh vegetables, fresh meat, and that's pretty much, because then we know what's in our diet. Now, if I'm having a salad dressing, I make it myself. I make my own mayonnaise, because almost all of the mayonnaise, even organic, has soybean oil in it. So, and soy is a no-go. So, and making mayonnaise once you get the hang of it, it's a breeze to make, and it tastes better. So making your own things so that you know the ingredients that are in your products that you're consuming, that makes it a lot easier to be able to track what's going on with your body and what's making your body trigger having those little episodes of flares. I guess that's I think that it's important that everyone knows that you can make a difference in your own body's health, but you have to take charge of it yourself.
Yes. Yes. Wonderful. Anything else, ladies, or do you feel like we said what we needed to say? I think we're good.
I think you were right. You know, everybody's story is similar but different, and our methods are similar but different. So it really is about finding out what's working for your body, because we're so bio-individual.
Yeah. And I loved the point too, that we made in this, which is good, I think, for people to hear, that we're still improving. We're
Mhm.
still seeing improvement as we continue on. So I think when we did that first video in September of 2019, I think I said I could eat like, 3 little nuts or something if I did more than that. And it was funny because last Christmas, I had a friend who had made these beautiful cashews they bought some raw cashews, and it was like Ina Garten's, recipe. And I thought, oh, I really want some. And I thought, I'm going to pay for this. But so I just had a small little handful, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9. And it didn't bother me at all. And I thought,
Wow.
there you go. I was ready to suffer the consequences, but it didn't. And so I'm like with you, Michelle, and probably all of us, I mostly stick low copper, but I can have, if I go out to dinner, I can have a little bit of guacamole. I can have this, I can have smaller portions of things semi-regularly. And I don't have any flare or any aftermath.
Mhm.
If I get greedy and I am letting it accumulate a little too much, but which hasn't happened in quite a long time because I'm pretty good about it now. And I kind of know what my body can tolerate and what it can't. So accumulation is a thing, but I can pretty much eat what I want. But I would say, 80-90% of the time I do eat low copper for all meals. So,
Yeah.
and it's pretty easy now. It's just the way I eat. I just had to relearn how to do things.
Yeah.
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 And I
Yeah.
think your taste buds change and adapt too. So
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that will
I
get
agree.
you.
Yeah. And I didn't have a list in the beginning, so everything was like throwing it at the wall when it started.
Well, and I think that even when you started it, there was no list really. I think we all kind of started
Yeah.
contributing what was working.
Yeah, and then I just started looking everything up, and then people would post on the page, is this high copper? So I'd have to, and I would just continue to add and add and add. I'm not adding anymore. I feel like we have a pretty solid place to start. So, and I like everyone to learn how to look up their foods, and the information changes constantly. So you just have to stay on top of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All
And
right.
I think your body can change too. So it's good to, once you're in a really good place, like I used to not be able to eat any like spinach or kale or whatever, but now all these years later, I can have small little amounts here and there and be fine. So it's good to
Yeah.
kind of reevaluate as your body changes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's interesting because I do a CMA. We started with SpectraCells, but I do a CMA like every 18 months and I'm constantly tweaking. I'm getting older, hormones, stress, all the things. So I'm constantly tweaking where things that I was really deficient in, I don't have a problem now. Now, the last time I can't even remember what it was. It was this weird, obscure thing that I was like borderline deficient. And it was like, that's so strange. Never came up before. So it's good to kind of stay on top of that if that's possible, because we're changing all the time. So anyway, all right. Thanks, ladies. I don't want to take up any more of your Saturday, but I appreciate you so much. Thanks for
Lois.
doing this.
Thanks, Lois.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.